Uh, Welcome back. Um, Let me wish uh, happiness to all of you. I know this is a difficult time uh, for everybody, and we should never lose hope. And most importantly, we have to recite the mantra of medicine Buddha for especially this kind of difficult situation. And of course, to maintain physical distancing, and we should socially engage. I think that's very, very important. Now, coming back to the main discussion, uh, the first day, I've shared with you one of the first Dharma by Thakur Rinpoche among the four Dharmas of Thakur Rinpoche, turning the mind to Dharma. That's what we have discussed. And also, I've shared you some part of taking the Dharma as the path, which is the second very important topic. Now, there are three individuals are involved. The first individual who is just looking for a temporary relief, don't care about Buddhahood, just want to be happy. Is just looking for a temporal relief from woody suffering or anxiety and so forth. And today, the second part, I have also shared earlier for the individual who wants to go further, not just to be happy, because this happiness is not always guaranteed. It's subject to change. So who are looking for a more stable sort of environment, of course, not Buddhahood, but much better than the first, the goal of the first individual. And of course, finally, individual who is looking for Buddha, to become a Buddha for the sake of all others. So basically, there are three individuals who, who have three different capacities: lesser capacity, middling capacity, and superior capacity. And one cannot say that one is higher, others lower. It is all about to acquire relief temporary from suffering, and eventually to become sake of Buddha for the sake of all beings. So that's what is the most important. That's what really counts. Now, I have shared with you the second part, almost I would say 80% of the practices which embrace by person with a middling capacity. And now today is a continuation discussion from the same capacity, practices of middling capacity. And actually, we have covered a lot. So today, the point where I like to share with you is mainly two parts, which is about briefly about Four Noble Truths and 12 Link of Independence. So for not just for middling capacity, a person who belongs to middling capacity, even for superior capacities, these practices are very, very important. These practices builds solid, stable foundation in order to grow in terms of knowledge, wisdom, and of course, eventually to acquire a Buddha. Now, coming to the point, by meditating on 16 aspects of Four Noble Truths. Noble Truth we have learned earlier. This maybe next time we will have a separate discussion about Four Noble Truths. By itself, it has so much to learn. So first is the truth of suffering. Second is the truth of the source of suffering. So we learn about the suffering, and by experiencing suffering, we want to know why I'm suffering, what makes us suffer. So then we try to find out the truth of the source of suffering. From knowing the truth of the source of suffering, we have a better chance to be free ourselves within, most importantly. Or else, you're walking blindly, or you're walking in the dark without light, which becomes very, very difficult to reach your destiny. And coming to the third truth, which is the truth of the path. And by knowing what are the sources of suffering, then you try to find the way how I can be free. Okay, so therefore we try to look the path or way where I can reach freedom from this suffering. This is called the truth of the path. And finally, the truth of cessation. So when you follow all these paths, that's what we have discussed so far, from the path of middling beings who hold middling capacity and lesser capacity, and now middling capacity. There are so many range of teaching that I have shared with you. And by following the path, we will reach the truth of cessation, where we acquire total freedom. Total freedom. Not Buddhahood, I would say close to total freedom. And this is something that is not just knowing it's important, it is also very, very meaningful. And what we should do is we can use these 4 different truths as a part of your meditation objects, because many times I have been asked, Rinpoche, when I focus on one object or on one particular on focus, I tend to feel bored. So in order to lighten my share of myself, I need many different focuses, so that again my interest wouldn't die. So I will not lose my interest. So these are objects that during the meditation you can think, not just you listen, but you contemplate and you try to think over again and again. Now, these 4 noble truths, each has sub 4 noble truths. We may not have time to go each and every detail. Like for instance, the first truth has impermanence and suffering, selflessness, and emptiness. So there are 4, and second truth has 4. It totally comes to 16. So this is something, and you can listen from teachings from other Rinpoches or Lamas. Definitely it will help you. Or next time we will have a different session to mainly to focus on 4 noble truths. So now the main function, the purpose of 4 noble truths, there are many. One of the main focus of this practicing 4 noble truths is to acquire the wisdom of selflessness of person, which is very, very important. Because as long as we believe in self, I, me, my belonging, my family, my friend, this is where it becomes the breeding ground. I would say breeding ground for all our suffering, pride, ego, attachment, anger, everything comes from there, simply because when I start to believe in I, by learning all aspects of Four Noble Truths, the 16 aspects of Four Noble Truths, not just simply saying it is not real, but logically, we are able to prove which is not real, by convincing yourself, by embracing these teachings, we are able to acquire the wisdom of selflessness of person, which is very, very important. Okay. Because selflessness is the source of our downfall, our failure, and for these reasons, it is so important to learn about Four Noble Truths. We shouldn't say that, I know this, I don't have to listen or learn. My worries is not about not knowing. My main concern and my hope is that you not just learn, but you will put into practice. This is where you will see progress. Many times we know, but we don't put into practice, then we remain the same forever. Evergreen. Anyway, I like green color. I don't know why I like green color. So anyway, green is good. And beside, based on that practice, we also meditate on the process of arising and reversal of 12 link of interdependence, which is again very, very beneficial practices. We learn about law, and I think this helps us to really understand what dependent means. We always say, I want independent, but there is no such thing called independent. We are all dependent. We all have to depend on each other. There's nothing that it stands by itself. There's no such thing. And we have this question always asked. Sometimes, I was asked many times, in fact, Rinpoche, when is the beginning of samsara? And when is going to when is going to end? Can you give me a time frame? This is a difficult question, but interesting question. Like I think third Kama said, there's no beginning. And I was asked which century, roughly how many years you can you say? There's no beginning, but there's definitely end. The end comes when you attain realizing. Okay. So I would like to go through simply briefly about 12 link of interdependence, which is again itself is a very profound and meaningful discussion, which we should learn in the near future, or even if you have a chance to listen from other Rinpoche Lama, you should just listen. I think it is very, very meaningful. Now, first, about the first among the 12 link of interdependence is ignorance. So what is ignorance? Ignorance has three characteristics. Ignorance is simply against logic or wisdom. Actually, it's a consciousness that focuses on object. And second, whatever that focuses, that ignorant focuses, is always not clear. Okay. And finally, ignorance is very disturbed. If it's as a personality, as a person, very disturbed, unsettled, and it is always followed by defiled mind. We call it defiled mind. Defiled mind is like for instance, mind, me, my family, my friend, my wealth, so it actually becomes the doorway to open this Pandora box, which all the negativity arises. This is called ignorance. So I would say ignorance is like a drunkard, when some person is totally intoxicated, don't know what she's doing, acts recklessly many times. So because of ignorance, what happens is due to ignorance, it creates three different kind of karma: act of virtue, act of non-virtue, and karma of unmoving. And all these karma are restored in basis of all consciousness. When the basis of all consciousness, when the time and condition comes, it's like a printing. We say many things in pen drive. Then when we want to print, we just upload and print. So this is what happens. So now consciousness. Third is consciousness. Consciousness, for instance, when it enters mother's womb, that's the third. That's the consciousness. So what happens once it enters mother's womb, and name and form will start to form. Name, of course, refers to aggregate of physical form, and there are others are just like feeling, and there are 5 aggregates. When body is not fully formed inside mother's womb, and now what happens is 6 senses basis. Now, when the body is fully formed, then when you're born, then you are born with all the 6 senses. Okay, you are born. This is the number 5, and then 6 is the contact. Now, with our faculty and object and our consciousness, then we see things, we hear things, we see object, we hear noises or music, whatever. So you are involved in external objects. 7, then what happens is now when you touch these different objects, you will have a feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral feeling. Okay, so so what happened is so when you have this feeling, then you have a attachment. We call it sepa. You try to get it, and get it. And then when you get it, then you have an attachment, grasping, what we call craving for how you feel. When you feel that, oh, nice, and you try to look for it. Then grasping. We try to get hold of that object. That's the number 9. Then become existent. Existent is now you have planted a new seed. You have created this existence to planted a new seed to for coming life. Then you are born again, and after that's number 11. And then once you are born, you have to get old. You have to, you get old, then you will die. So these are the 12 link of interdependent. I've just gone through briefly. There's so much to discuss. I don't think we can finish all this. But anyway, I'm just giving you just overall picture of 12 link of interdependent. And next time we can have a time to share and discuss all this point one by one. So now what happens now when you master 12 link of interdependent, then you acquire the wisdom of selflessness of phenomena. That what you see around is like there's no self, there's no truth in it. It's simply like an illusion, like a dream. That the reflection of moon inside the lake. So there's no truth to unhold it, or I may say there's no inherent existence, which is again very, very essential to secure our freedom. And so individuals with a middling capacity, when they embraces these different level of practices, and what happens now is one will come to almost ceasing of mental affliction, all the defilement, not totally, but almost very close. Okay, and when this happens, this is the time actually you achieve the final truth, which is the truth of cessation. That's the final goal that we have reached. And for individual with the middling capacity, and this is the goal they look for, because it's much better than the temporary relief, but it's not same to Buddha, but it's somewhere, when you will achieve arhathood, where you are secure from most of the worries, suffering of sixth realm, but you are not totally free. Only total freedom comes when you become a Buddha. Okay, so that is all about person who holds middling capacity. Okay, now coming to our final discussion for the second point, which is a person who holds superior capacity. Superior capacity. Now, this is the individual who think and who believe not freedom not only for oneself, but who wholeheartedly believes the freedom of others. So I would say this is a brave heart, a person with so much of courage. And particularly in Buddhism, when you say brave heart, it's someone who works for humanity, who works for others. This is called brave heart, not someone who kills someone, who goes against humanity. It's not called brave heart. So this individual is known as brave heart because this individual whose main interest is to help others. Okay, so it's most courageous. So in order to help others, and who is also brave in order to embrace, to embrace very profound teachings, no fear, so therefore, when such person embraces such teaching, there's so much of joy inside such person who's not afraid. Like there are many adventurers. They like to jump from the plane. They like to go for mountain biking. There's so many go for surfing. It's very interesting, but it's very dangerous. Sometimes your life can be you may put in your life in danger. So similarly here, a person who take all the risks in order to serve others. Therefore, this is considered a person who has a superior capacity. And such person look for a higher vehicle in order to fulfill his determination and to need of others. Okay, and so if you say what is the root of such path, when you embrace such a profound path, is their aim is to be Buddha. Their aim is not to be just happy for this moment or to be happy in long term. Many people work very hard when they are young to secure a very comfortable future. But this person wants to work for further, to secure freedom for others. And of course, it's difficult to say that you can secure freedom for others, but from your own heart, you're dedicating yourself for the sake of others. Therefore, it is called brave heart. So what this person makes special is because his motivation only to serve others. His focus is to serve others one way or another. That is the difference. And actually, Shantidewa and many masters repeatedly mention in their advice, a person who works for others is indirectly working for yourself. Only someone who is ignoring only for oneself, and then you never fulfill your needs. Like if you like, for instance, like Buddha Shakyamuni, like Prince Siddhartha, he dedicated his whole life for others. So eventually he became Buddha. And many of us, we only work for ourselves. So we are still here. And probably if we do not change our approach, we are going to be here all the time. So working for others is very, very important. Now, when you embrace such a profound part, there are so many different practices that one has to master. So there are a few that I mentioned. It doesn't mean that it's all, but there are many. Okay, there are many practices that one has to practice wholeheartedly. Like, for instance, the 4 positive doctrine and the 6 perfection. So now, what are these active practices comes often mentioned in many practices of Bodhisattva's approach. For instance, never giving up Dharma. Even it threatens your life. Never giving up your Dharma. That's one. Second, this is the most important. Never give up your bodhicitta. I was asked many times when we will break bodhicitta vows or precept. Just simply having a wrong attitude will not break your bodhisattva precept. Only when you start to think, when time comes to help others, I will not help. When times come to hurt others, I will hurt others. So when you have such attitude from your inside your heart, and that is the time you have broken the precept of bodhisattva. Okay, unless until this happens, you may somehow affected your promises, your commitment, but not totally broken. So you ask for forgiveness. Earlier I discussed with like 4 powers. Ask for forgiveness, regret, and secondly, make sure that you don't do it again, and depend on like a triple gem or 3 for their blessing, and come up with a remedy for purification. Okay, and the third, giving, generosity, giving wholeheartedly. And of course, it becomes difficult for all of us when you give something. We always tend to have a selfish interest. That's always there, and we are still beginner. We cannot be perfect like Buddha, but we should keep trying. But when you try, definitely one day we may able to, give like bodhisattvas. It's just a time of practice, and it's just a matter of time. And finally, not hurting others. This is very, very important. And not hurting others, especially when we are living in such a difficult environment. A lot of people makes you angry, unhappy. As long as possible, try not to harm others. Always try to avoid harming others. So this called okay, we call it karpochochi, 4 positive practices, okay, that we have to embrace in order to follow profound teachings of profound part, in order to fulfill the need of profound part. So four dharmas, 4 positive doctrine. Okay. Now coming to the 6th perfection. Of course, probably many of you know perfection. generosity. Okay, that's the first. Second is morality. Generosity is giving, practice of giving, and morality is to keep precept unbrokenly, no matter how difficult it could be. Try to keep wholeheartedly for the sake of for others. That's the second. And third is patience. This is what we always live. Patience is very, very important. When there's a patient, success is not far away. The moment we lose patience, then we lose everything. And patience could be one of the most destructive forces that we may find difficult to overcome. Hatred, for instance, hatred. And opposite antidote to hatred is patience, because hatred could burn everything that you have cultivated. Hatred is the most dangerous thief that take away all your hard-earned merit. So we have to be very should be fearful of hatred. Okay, so the antidote to hatred is patience. Patience is very important. And fourth is the perfection of right effort. We may have an effort, but referring to right effort is very, very important. Sometimes effort also means joyful act. You are so joyful to act accordingly. There are people who have so patient and to watch movie overnight. There are people who have patience to just engage in water shuttles for hours and hours. But in terms of practice, many are impatient. When you watch movie, we don't have a time frame. But when it's come to start to practice, we always tend to make a time to practice half an hour. Oh, that should be enough. I've already made good and happy. So this kind of approach is wrong. So we have to be joyful to practice as long as we can. The fifth is meditation. Refers to shamatha, vipassana, all forms of meditation. Shamatha and vipassana are the two basic foundation for all other meditation. So simply to meditate, this is called because meditation helps us to protect temporarily from all this poison. Shamatha reduces or prevents us from interacting with all different points such as anger, jealousy, and so forth. And vipassana is the one that totally eradicates. So, and we have to learn how to practice shamatha as well with vipassana in order to make your meditation practice very, very meaningful. And finally, wisdom. Wisdom here refers to a wisdom of understanding selflessness person, selflessness of thing, or basically understanding or realization of emptiness. Okay, so there are many ways to acquire wisdom: through listening, through contemplation, through meditation. This is how we acquire wisdom, and in order to confront upfront our ignorance is to acquire this wisdom, which is very, very meaningful. Okay, and this teaching, this discussion, actually, there's so much to discuss. It's very intensive, and in the near future, we may have other time, session to discuss about 4, 6 parameters. So now, what happens is now when you practice six perfection, six perfection, we cultivate, or any other practice, as I mentioned earlier, we cultivate merit. There are two kinds of merit: a merit of store and merit of wisdom. Now, what is the merit of store? Merit of store simply is the source of our temporal happiness, longevity, prosperity, good health, everything. Like by how we cultivate this merit, by recitation of mantra, by practicing simply giving, patience. All this help to acquire the merit of store. And for ordinary people, this becomes a very, very important, because this is where our relief comes. This is where our success comes. Okay. And the second wisdom is merit is called merit of wisdom. Okay. This is a bit harder, and this is the source of a source of enlightenment. Okay. There are merits, both are merit, but one is source of our temporal happiness, others is source of enlightenment. So how come this merit are cultivated differently? This is because we are still ordinary being, as long as we believe in three circle, as long as we believe in three circle. Like for instance, when I practice generosity, I always think, I'm giving, okay? And I always think, oh, there's someone who is receiving my gift, and there is action involved. So as long as we believe in these three circle, cosm, we call it cosm, and whatever matter, whichever way we cultivate, it becomes the merit of store, okay? And not merit of wisdom, merit of knowledge. The merit of wisdom or knowledge only becomes when we cultivate merit, we free ourselves from this circle. And this only happens when somebody reaches the first bhumi, like a bodhisattva level. It's impossible for us. But anyway, we can keep in our mind, and so occasionally we have to put this in our thoughts and try to analyze and try to try to contribute how we can cultivate merit, but it's not possible for us. But anyway, cultivating merit is very, very important. And here, and when you cultivate such merit, one always need, or any practices, the help, the support of right effort. Right effort is very, very important. When you lack right effort, this is where we always fail. Many times, I have been asked for which I feel lazy, I feel boring, I don't know, it's so difficult to practice, and you find so many different excuses. So many different excuses. So many different excuses. Sometimes one cannot be blamed, because if you're physically not well, if you're mentally disturbed by different your commitment or worries, and then we can understand it's difficult to practice. Other than if it's simply because of laziness, and then you definitely need to make effort. It is very, very important. And if you find it difficult, then you should again go back to four ordinary foundations. Think about precious human body. Most importantly, about impermanence. 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 You should think about impermanence. This will again rejuvenate your interest. It brings your interest back, and then again you can continue with your practice. Now here, being a part of superior being, what you are encouraged is there are basically two kinds of bodhicitta: relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. And as a being, as an ordinary being, we, according to our ability, we are only able to practice relative bodhicitta, not ultimate bodhicitta. Unless until when you attain certain level of realization, when somebody reaches first bhumi, the first level of bodhisattva, then you will be able to practice ultimate bodhicitta. For all of us, for all of us, practice of bodhicitta is very, very important, but relative bodhicitta. Now, relative bodhicitta has two kinds. One is called aspirational bodhicitta, and other one is called engaging bodhicitta. So we are still ordinary being, so we should begin with aspiration bodhicitta, which means that always to share good heart. Even when you face difficult challenges, always think approach with a good heart. Like for instance, when you see someone is very sick, or someone needs money, or someone needs your support, but if you are not able to support or go there and help them, don't say that, don't show you give your don't be sad, but what you need to do is, okay, this time in your heart, if you're not able, if you're not ready, you should just think in your heart, I'm sorry, I'm still a beginner, I'm not able to really help you, I'm helpless, but I wish, I pray for your happiness, and I promise in near future, when I'm become more courageous, I will help you. And it itself, there is so much of merit, the moment when you develop such heart, you are not called with the ordinary names. You could be anybody, but at your instead of your family name, you got bodhisattva, so and so bodhisattva, so and so bodhisattva. So you all become a bodhisattva, and then all the Buddha and bodhisattva will admire, so you already become a bodhisattva. Even though you are not going to help physically, but at least when you have a good heart towards others, this is the first step, and that's how we should practice. When you see someone in pain, you should, or you deserve, you're such a bad person, and now karma has come to you. Thank you, Buddha. That would be a wrong way to express. You shouldn't think similar way. You should think that, okay, I'm so sorry for such person suffering, and this is all due to act of non-virtue. And I hope and I pray to Buddha, one day such person will be free. That's very good, good way to approach. And engaging bodhicitta, now you are ready. You are ready. You go physically, you are mental people, and go and help like bodhisattva. There are so many, you can see, so many volunteers in today, during this difficult time, doctors, nurses, cannot be high level bodhisattva. They have a good heart, and there are so many volunteers who are willingly take the risk to help others, so they may not be the highly accomplished bodhisattvas. These are act of bodhisattva. So not only that, there are so many people, NGOs, they serve others, serve humanity. So this is the right effort. This is the way at the act of bodhisattva, and we should all encourage ourselves and others to such approaches. And once you take the precept of relative bodhicitta, which engaging and aspirational, and there are many precepts. You should try to keep as strong, as pure as possible. And I know every day in life is so difficult. We have so many challenges that we face day in and out. It is difficult, but one has to always try whenever you are able. So this is very, very important. And of course, in order to give rise to ultimate bodhicitta, relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta, what we need to do, there are many ways, to acquire ultimate bodhicitta. Practice true truth, relative truth, and ultimate truth. This all will help you. We all understand what relative truth means, and to attain realization of ultimate truth, which is very, very difficult. We are still ordinary beings. So relative truth means like now, what we see, what you hear, all our activities, our approaches, are all part of relative truth. And when you do not analyze, when you do not investigate, it works. Therefore, it's called truth. The moment when you try to analyze, you can't find any inherent quality, or it cannot really stand by itself. Like, for instance, someone who is in dream, for such dreamer, everything is real, unless when you wake up, then everything becomes just an illusion. So many gurus said that our life, we are actually in dream, and unfortunately, many times we may not have a chance to wake up from the dream. We already start another dream, That's how we continue in different part of samsara, okay? So it is also very, very important to understand a relative truth. We call it kunjop de tempa, okay? And ultimate truth is something that only, when you attend first bhumi, then when you attend, we will acquire the realization of ultimate truth. When you reach, like, there are 5 parts. A part of accumulation. We are all in part of accumulation. There are 12 different levels, and there's a part of application. There are 4 different stages. And when you reach a part of application, you will feel like before you reaches the fire, you can feel the heat. So similarly, before you attain realization, you will feel that taste a little bit of what realization means, okay? But this only possible when you attain total realization, when you reach the first bhumi. And these two truths are not different. They are not totally contradict each other. One has to combine practice in inseparable form. Like, for instance, when you see the reflection of the moon, this will be the simple way to understand. When you see the reflection of the moon in the river, in the lake, you can see the moon, but at the same time, moon is not there. When you try to grab the moon, you can't grab the moon, but at the same time you can see, okay? So what we see doesn't mean that exists inherently. There's no steadfast or something that exists forever. So this is something we can analyze, we can study, and improve on our understanding about 2 different truths. So this one again has its own discussion. We can have a separate discussion of 2 different truths, which will be also very, very meaningful. And also, it is important to understand what the middle view means. Middle view means Madhyamika view, or middle path, or middle view, or we call it Umapa, which means we are not falling into 2 extremes. Nihilistic, not holding nihilistic view or internalistic view, okay? And of course, earlier, the right view, or that's called Madhyamika, middle view. We call it Uma. This is also very, very important, because if you fall into either side, then our way, the approach is totally wrong. So one should not fall either one cannot be nihilistic or internalistic. So we have to follow the middle part, which means, like, relatively speaking, we can see everything as how we live our life, but in terms of ultimate truth, there's nothing that which has inherent existence. This way, maybe we can understand better, but there's so much to discuss. We can come later, we can share more about this thought, okay? By understanding middle view, or practicing in several forms of 2 different tools. This is where you will hold the right. Earlier, in the person with a lesser capacity, their right view is to believe in law of karma, cause and effect, this life, next life, Buddha's teaching. Okay, here is about holding the right view, means like not falling into too extreme. Okay, too extreme by inseparably practicing 2 different tools. Okay, and then of course meditation plays a very important role here. There are a whole range of meditation that one can embrace. Yeah, shamatha means perfect shamatha means not falling either in a state of dullness or agitation. These are the main obstacle challenges faced by all meditator or practitioner of shamatha. Okay, not falling in a state of dullness or agitation. Dullness could be like sluggishness, sleepiness, all this part of dullness. Yeah, you're so down, you know, that you are not so clear, and or some agitation. It's so you're so active, no matter where you practice, even if you may be sitting in the meditation posture, but if you're mentally busy, that is not going to help. Like we complain about traffic jam in many cities, but if someone sees what is going inside of our head, our brain, this could be the world's worst traffic jam. It's inside us. Okay, so shamatha helps, and this shamatha practice is again conclusive of vipassana. Vipassana means seeing extra. Vipassana means seeing extra, which may, we may not able to practice now. Seeing extra means seeing the truth, but I may say ordinary shamatha. It's not an actual shamatha, but then from now on, when you embrace both shamatha and vipassana, it helps, we have to train from now. Like for instance, like prince or princess, before they can become king or queen, from very young age, they have to be trained. One day they cannot just act like a king or queen. Similarly, in order to become bodhisattva and Buddha in the near future, we have to be trained from now. We have to be trained from now. So this is what it's about. We have to train from now. And not only that, this is even in what do you call in Tantrayana, it was very even in Mahayana Buddhism, skillful means and wisdom are integral part. They cannot be separated. And not acquiring wisdom is very, very important, but also skillful means all the methods aspect is also very, very important. Like for instance, without 2 hands, you cannot clap. Okay. Similarly, only with the wisdom, we can't reach far enough. We can cross the samsara, but we will not be the nirvana. Okay. And only with the method, we may stuck in the samsara, so therefore we have to combine both. So what is the method as per the practice here? All the conduct of bodhisattva, love, compassion, care, all this. There are so many practices of bodhisattva yana, so we need to embrace all these different practices. So by embracing all the different level practices, by practicing combination of skillful meaning wisdom in our life, what happens is like we are slowly able to travel through 5 different paths, which I have explained earlier. Part of accumulation, part of application, part of seeing, part of meditation, and Buddhahood is part of no mortal life. Okay, it's by traveling through these different paths, we actually travel through 10 stages of Bodhisattva yana path, and then the 11th stage is the Buddhahood. So this is where we can ultimately reach, which is our goal for practitioner with a higher capacity. So This is about the practice of a person with a higher capacity, and this also includes so you have practiced Dharma as a part. You know, it's not, it is important to have a thought towards Dharma, you know, heart towards Dharma. But in order to make sure that your practice is right, you know, you have to embrace all the different practices in order to practice meaningfully, in order to fulfill the, you know, the requirement as this points put it. So basically now we have just completed the turning mind to Dharma, turning Dharma to Dharma, taking Dharma as the path. That's what we have shortly discussed. So I would like to leave it here. I think there's so much of information that you need to digest. It's like trying to put a big sandwich inside your small mouth. This actually probably what had happened today. But anyway, I'm giving you overall picture. Okay, the part of middling and superior capacity, and you have this video. You can listen again and again. And also, we have posted the article on our website, also in Facebook. So you can look at and then you try to cut, you know, you try to go through again and again. You know, this is some way. This is how, you know, we're able to master all this teaching. And hopefully today you have learned something from this discussion. And I'd like to leave it here. And let's have a question and answer session. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche. So we have some questions.
Okay, no problem.
So the first question, thank you, Rinpoche, for all your wisdom and kindness. And this question is, so Devadatta, the Buddha's cousin, he spoiled all his good karma because he was jealous of the Buddha. So what advice do you have, Rinpoche, for not being like Devadatta? We don't want to spoil our good karma through being jealous. What advice do you have?
I think it's a good question. And jealousy is something part of everybody. You know, I have two cats, a beautiful cat, and they seem to have so much jealous. I was quite surprised, you know, even cats seem to have so much of jealousy. But this is part of life. But first step, overcoming jealousy, is to recognize there is a problem. That's a very good, important and first step. And the second step is to bring logical reasoning. And also you can listen to actually advice and teaching for other Rinpoche or other gurus, why jealousy is not helpful to you. It's not so healthy. It's not healthy for yourself. It's not meaningful at all. You know, jealousy destroys you. Your hope is to destroy others, but it doesn't happen. Why someone is doing better is all because of their hard work, their good deed. So instead of jealousy, actually what I do, how I practice, how I approach jealousy is, of course, everybody has jealousy. Yeah? We are still human beings. But when you have a jealousy, you know, immediately you can recognize this is not a helpful attitude. Like for instance, if somebody is doing better, I just hope that may everybody will be similar to such person. May everybody may be happy like such person. And I rejoice by simply transforming. That's what we have learned. We need to transform our jealousy into something meaningful. We transform jealousy into a meaningful act, like by sharing, rejoicing the act of someone's good deed.
Thank you, Rinpoche. So the next question is about purification mantras. So we have Vadasattva mantra, Akshobhya Buddha mantra, Nam Gyoma mantra. All these ones are for purification. Can Rinpoche explain further on when do we recite each different mantra?
No, I think Nam Gyoma, I do practice all, but most people, I mean, Vajrasattva, like for instance, if you're reciting sadhana And at the end of the sadhana, you can recite Vajrasattva 3 times. For probably during the practice, I may have taught wrongly, practiced wrongly, or I may have some negative emotion that harmful to me have arisen during my practice. For forgiveness, at the end of the practice before you dedicate, or anytime, when something negative attitude that thought comes in your mind, immediately, or better subtle, you can say that. Or accidentally, if you step on something, if you accidentally kill an, or you just recite few Vajrasattva mantra, I think would be meaningful.
Thank you, Rinpoche. So is there a special time for Namgyalma versus Vajrasattva, or it doesn't matter?
Namgyalma, most of the time, there's no special time, but most of the time we tend to recite morning. I always recite morning before my prayers. So it's up to you,
So Rinpoche, the next question is about who did Rinpoche receive the 4 Dharmas of a Gampopa teaching from?
Or me? Or I received from Kempo Rijitondo. I received from him, and also his own is conducted for the Gampopa teaching, recently. I think last year.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Then Rinpoche, the next question is, what do we do if we break a Bodhisattva precept?
It's a good question. The moment I said earlier, you will only break when you have such a hateful thought. Like when time comes to help, I don't want to help. If the time comes to hurt, I will help. I will hurt the person. Such attitude will definitely break the Bodhisattva vow. But simply thinking, or sometimes angry, or sometimes feeling lazy, or sometimes having a malicious intention, not wholeheartedly, suddenly, because sometimes thought we don't have a control. So when it arises, immediately you need to recite Vajrasattva mantra, ask for forgiveness, and not just forgiveness. You have to make sure that you regret for what you have done or you have thought about, and then commit yourself not to do it again, and then visualize the support of all the refuge, and also look support for the remedy, power of remedy.
Power of remedy. Thank you, Rinpoche. Then similar question. So I have a question regarding the statement, anger will burn all your merit. Anger will burn the merit. So everyone gets angry at some time. How do we deal with this anger so that we don't burn the merit, so it doesn't destroy our merit?
There's a word by Shanti Deva. Anger is the most dangerous emotion. Something like that. Goes something like that. So anger. First, you need to, you have to be, before you get angry, you have to always remind yourself what is the ill effect of anger. Not just anger, any other emotion, negative emotion. Ill effect of negative emotion, especially anger. It makes you very uncomfortable. It makes others unhappy. Okay, you lose your friendship, and most importantly, your hurt and marriage. Like what happens is like what is happening. In fact, today is like we do a lot of prayers, from morning to at night. But the problem here is we spend more than we earn. That's the problem. We may cultivate a lot of merit, but the amount of emotion that rages inside us will use out all our merits. So this happens. So it is important to recognize and make sure that this doesn't happen. So it is a step, it's a process. It's not an overnight process. You have to take your time, and gradually, steadily, you're able to overcome.
So Rinpoche, thank you, Rinpoche. This next question, this person said, sorry, Rinpoche, I arrived a little late to the webinar and you were going through some steps. And I was wondering if you could just say the steps again or let me know which book
What step is that?
I think it's the
Which
12
one?
links, Rinpoche, ignorance, name and form, feeling, these ones, the 12 links.
Oh, okay, like ignorant is the first, yeah. Ignorant is the culprit of everything. Ignorant is basically unclear, very disturbed, unsettled, and always followed by emotion, defile mind. Okay, basically, according to Gampopa Rinpoche, emotion is like Dangzin, I, which is always followed by defiled mind. This is called ignorance. Karmic formation. Second is the karmic formation. Where ignorance cultivate, cultivate act of virtue, act of non-virtue, and neutral act of unmoving. And then is the consciousness. Third, fourth is name and form. Fifth is six senses basis. Six is contact. Seven is feeling. Then craving. 8, grasping. 9, existence. 10, birth is 11, old age and death is 12. Yeah. Anyway, probably we will post it on our website, so I think it will be clear to you. Yeah, it has a long discussion, so I'm thinking maybe some other day we will go. We will learn more about this problem of independence. Actually, all dependent. People say independent. Where is this independent? There's no independent. Everything is dependent. You can't destroy other that you can live happily. That doesn't happen. If you try to destroy other, others destroy you. So at the end, both all of us will lose. So it's a great way to be develop friendship and understand each other, support each other, because after all, we are dependent.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Next question. Rinpoche, who the Ngundro teachings, where did they come from? Is the first person who started this? What is the history of Ngundro?
Well, like Puma said, he has Ngundro teaching, and also I think Jamgon Kondro, actually Ngundro teachings in many different lineages, different lineages always begin with the Ngundro, because Ngundro is the foundation. Yeah? So without Ngundro, you can't really practice. Even 9 Karmapa, there's also full range of Ngundro practices. Yeah, the book that that we have published, the book Ngedin Jatso, yeah. There's also Ngundro part of this. So Ngundro teachings are everywhere because it is essential and important.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Then there was another question about Ngundro. What is the difference between Zoman Kagyu Ngundro and Kama Kagyu Ngundro?
They are same. Zoman Kagyu and Kama Kagyu, there's no differences. Yeah. Actually, what we practice is actually the essence practice of Kama Kagyu. So only because there's a practice called Ninju, which was passed down from Vajradhara Telopa until 5th Karmapa. And this teaching was given to us first Karma, which is Tumase. And from there, it spread in the Sumang tradition, not in the Kama Kagyu tradition, but basically same root. Same. We are all part of Kama Kagyu. And not a totally different entity. We are all part of Kama Kagyu.
Thank you, Rinpoche. This question is about helping the environment. And can Buddhist practices and the precepts, specifically the vows, can they help us support the environmental movement?
Oh yeah, like um, uh, others not just being also to indirectly, like when you uh, destroy environment, it's going to indirectly affect so many um, forms of life. Okay, and this is our responsibility. Like for instance, there's a story. One of the six today we call it, I think it's Charka, one of the six Buddha's disciple, who is responsible all the precept that now monks now we have to observe. Yeah. So one of them, what happened was, he was passing through inside the forest, and then what happened was his shawl, his shawl got stuck on one of the branches, and he was so angry. And according to Buddha, he was so angry, so he pulled forcefully. The whole branch broke off. Okay, and because of this, uh, his action, he was born in the Naga realm as a Naga king. But on his head, one tree one tree grow on his head. So he's so rich. Naga supposed to be very, very rich. But then, when the wind blows, then he has a lot of pain because his whole head brain shakes. This is the act of anger that destroy the environment. So definitely it affects us in many ways. And also it becomes sort of killing, like, because when you cut a tree, there are so many lives depending on the tree. So you are basically cutting the tree, means killing all forms of life. So this is totally against Dharma. Yeah. So environment is very important. When you pollute the water, so you're destroying so many forms of life. It's a state of act of killing,
Thank you, Rinpoche.
directly or indirectly.
Sorry, Rinpoche.
Yes, directly or indirectly.
Next question, Rinpoche.
Yeah. You can post some.
So I just want to let everyone, if they want to ask Rinpoche a question, they can ask in the Q&A panel. That's how to ask the question. So Rinpoche, this question, can the resident lamas give long on ngundro and mantras? And will this happen in the centers because there's pandemic situation? We need to say these mantras. Can we get long from the resident lama?
Yes. I think a resident lama, I think as long as they receive loan, I think that is the main purpose of having lama in the centers. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are not gatekeepers.
Sorry, Rinpoche.
They are not a caretaker.
So Rinpoche, this one, this person says, sorry for the funny question, but they're wondering about the right places for to say mantra. Where is the right places? And for example, if you have to go somewhere scary, so say you have to go out into the forest at night to go to the bathroom, is it wrong to say Mahakala for protection doing this?
But I would not advise you to recite in toilet. Yeah. But I think it's okay to recite mantra if you are afraid. Tara or any mantras if you are afraid. To get a blessing and courage so that you are not frightened by the environment or harm of non-beings. But I think one should never recite mantra in washroom or read Dharma books. Sometimes we read books everywhere in washrooms, but Dharma books should not be read inside washrooms.
Thank you, Rinpoche. That's clear. Hello, Rinpoche. If we have done the transfer of merits and then we get angry, will we still have the merits being transferred earlier, or is this anger destroyed these merits?
That's a good question. I never had such question. Well, there's a good way to think. We never think like that. You transform merit first, then you get angry later. Yeah. Is
Yes,
that a
that's the
question?
question, Rinpoche.
It's not about receiving or not receiving, or the worries, but important is that you have a good heart to share. I think that's what really counts. Even if you get angry later, I mean, it may affect your own marriage, but what you have done earlier is a positive, and they will have a positive effect.
Thank you, Rinpoche. So Rinpoche, is it possible to use text from Karma Kagyu lineage, but when we are doing the practice, the Vajradhara visualization, we take the Zoman Kagyu guru as our root guru? Is this okay?
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. We are all part of one big family. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. Probably when you're doing particular teachings that which is only practiced Sumang, then it's maybe better to use Sumang text. Other than it's the same. We are all same.
So Rinpoche, we are now finished questions. So Rinpoche, maybe if you can just explain a little bit about what's coming next week, so that people can know what's coming.
It will next week, the third part, which is more about Vajrayana, more about Vajrayana. Also, discussion is quite deep. Explain about the initiation and different 2 stages, and the conduct of 2 different conducts. So it's about very much related to Vajrayana tradition, and the final day, the 4th day, will be about something like about Yishi, wisdom, how we recognize the thoughts as a wisdom. Yishi, Namto, that all the thought arises in the form of wisdom. And after that, there will be a 2-day session. Then I'm thinking, actually, I wanted to do Tara because of this pandemic, but the situation now is really, really bad. So I don't know, we can hold lamas together because of this restriction. So if that is the case, we have to postpone maybe next month, the puja. If that is the case, then I make the 3rd day, I make start with the full foundation. And whoever is interested, probably I may give a link and also share you the first foundation, and Lama Jigme again will have a session to teach you how you practice, how you recite the sadhana. So that's what I'm going to do. So I think that's basically, what I'm planning now. And then after that, I would see maybe other teachings. Maybe we may take a break and other teaching, but I have to try to complete the full foundation. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche.
Because the situation is getting really, really bad everywhere. And I know it's so important, all of you, to take care of yourself. I think we need to protect ourselves, and such difficult time, I think recitation of medicine Buddha mantra becomes more urgent, because we don't know who is sick and who's going to be sick. And when you get sick, it's so difficult. It's just devastating for so many lives, so many people. And I really want to thank all the doctors, nurses, all the volunteers, there who are taking taking the risk to their life, yet they're there to help everybody. I think it's a great, and this is called the approach of bodhisattvas. You know, I think we have to all encourage and pray for all their safety. Yeah. So if there's no question, we will meditate for 5 minutes.
Wonderful, Rinpoche. Thank you.
I'm sorry, there are so many cameras, though I don't know where I'm looking. Okay, so if I'm not looking here directly, that means there are so many other cameras. I don't know where I'm looking. Okay, she's grown quite big now. Okay, see? Say hello to everybody. Okay, we meditate 5 minutes, okay? Come on, Kashi. You can open your eye, you can close your eye. Of course, if you're practicing Mahamudra, you're advised to open your eye, but then it's up to you, yeah? But now it's up to you. As long as you're not sleeping, then it's enough. Come on. Okay, thank you very much to all of you. And Daniel Dimalama, all the Transient Filenobu and Jenny, and to all of you. Have a nice weekend. Thank you so much.